Friends of Israel. I am Sal Lizabram, National President of Jewish National Fund USA. Thank you for joining us for our daily briefing. We are the only organization that brings you these calls every weekday with updates straight from Israel. We are on the 24th day of this war, and over the weekend we entered a new phase of this battle. We know that this will not be easy. War is ugly. And as the world's memory of the atrocities of October 7 fade, we must continue to be strong and engaged. That's why these briefings are so important, and we thank you for tuning in. Today, I'd like to start by sharing that Jewish National Fund USA is working to set up a series of volunteer opportunities in Israel. We're getting an overwhelming number of requests from people who wish to travel to Israel to assist in civil service efforts. Starting right after our global conference, which will be held November 30th through December 3rd in Denver. By the way, over 200 people have signed up just in the last week, so I'm sure we'll be over 2,000 people participating. So beginning the week of December 10th, we will offer weekly missions to Israel. These trips will be working with our Jewish National Fund USA affiliates and filling in where we are needed the most. The trips will include working in agriculture in the fields with Hashomer HaChadash, working on a military base and doing community service with evacuees. Information and more details about these trips will be on our website this week, so please stay tuned. But if you want more information immediately, please reach out to Dina Schiff, JNF USA Chief of Staff at dschiff, D-S-H-I-F-F, at jnf.org. We'll put this address in the chat. Today, we welcome Major General Uzi Dayan, Chairman of JNF USA's affiliate, Green Horizons, former IDF Deputy Chief of Staff, and former head of Israel's National Security Council. Major General Dayan, we thank you for being with us today to share some updates. Major Dayan.
Thank you, Saul, and shalom to everybody. From the country that you know, Israel, but you don't really know the situation right now. As you heard my bio, I'm very Israeli. You will never tell it by my accent, but you can take my words for it. And Israel today is involved altogether in 3 different fronts, the main one in Gaza Strip, and the another one in the northern part of the country with the Hezbollah, and the Judah, Samaria, and the Jordan Valley, the Jordan Baca, as we call it. Now, I know you people that you know Israel and you have personal opinion about it. I will try to do very shortly a kind of a briefing. I will talk a little bit about the past and a lot about the present, and also mention the immediate future, and try to express my own opinion only in some parts of it. So it all began 24 days from now. This was a very hard day to understand how hard and how problematic it is. In one day, in 24 hours, we have 2 times more casualties that we have in the 6-day war altogether. And right now, the people, most of them are civilians, babies, women, people which are more than 80 years old, and we have a lot of more than 200 people who are in the hand of the Hamas. Just to mention, there was a conception that we can live with the Hamas if we are flexible enough and if they give them enough workers that are working in Israel, more than 50,000. and that was a mistake. The intelligence Israeli, which is usually very good, wasn't this time, and we didn't get the early warning. Most of them thought that the Hamas is deterred. Also, the operational way that we handled the southern border near Gaza wasn't good enough. And there are two main lessons. I'm not talking about the lessons after the war, etc. I'm just talking about lessons that are has to be implemented immediately. One is that is do with our goal right now. The only way to deter a terror organization is to threat its own existence. And if it doesn't work, like this time, now we have to deliver, to actually to erase the Hamas. And two, is do with intention and capabilities. We usually like to get prepared according to the intentions of our enemies, and this is a mistake that we learned in Yom Kippur War. I took part in the Six-Day War and Yom Kippur, the first and the second war in Lebanon. So this is an old lesson that we didn't learn good enough. Get prepared according to the capabilities of your enemies and not according to their intentions. You are not, you mistake. There are a lot of mistakes you are doing by trying to think what is the intention of your enemy, and the intention of the organization like Hamas, etc., just to erase the Jewish people. So it took us more than 2 weeks to clear the area, the inside area near the 22 settlements in the northern part of the Negev, near Gaza. And right now we move to the other, the second part of this war, and this is the attack. We can say, like in the Second World War, that this is the end of the beginning. And we have now to deal with fighting and erasing the Hamas. Right now in Israel, the people in the same time mourning are going to funerals and sitting Shiva, and in the same time, everybody is recruited, and the whole Israeli society is actually recruited in a way to help each other. And in the second stage, which means the attack on Gaza, we do it pretty carefully, but we are strong. What is the goal of right now? The first goal of this war, and this is to bring down the Hamas. There is something should be explained here. There is an asymmetry. We are very strong, of course. We can kill as many people as we want in Gaza. But in order to beat a terror organization, the idea is actually to eliminate all the leadership and as much members as we can, and to kick him out of his territory. The final stage of this war in Gaza is to how should I give an example to it? It's to arrive to this situation that was in Berlin in 1945, which means that the Hamas as an organization is out, and there's even special codes that we start to build in the same way that the USA, for example, built after 9/11, a military court to sentence all the members of the Hamas that we didn't kill. And Germany 1945 is the model of what should happen in Gaza. In the same time, I want to emphasize that we have three different fronts now in Israel. The southern one in Gaza, there is another one in the northern part along the border with Lebanon and Syria against the Hezbollah, and a third one in Judah and Samaria, because there is a part of the Hamas which is very active in Judah and Samaria. Can we do it? The answer is yes, and we must do it. Why we must do it? Because everybody look at us now. We have enough international credit, especially by the USA and the President Biden, which is very important. Nobody stop us, but everybody look at us. The Hezbollah is looking at us, the Tehran is looking at us, but also our colleagues from Egypt and Jordan, and also our friends in Washington. Israel should now prove that we can deliver. We are doing it pretty carefully, and we focus on Gaza. Why on Gaza? There might be other fronts, as I said, capabilities, not intentions, in the northern part and in other places, but we have to focus in Gaza, because if we bring a victory, as we need now in Gaza, it's not only good for Israel, it's also make a start to build again the deterrence against places or organizations like the Hezbollah and the Islamic Jihad. Now, while we are doing it, we have to remember that there are two goals to this war. One is to eliminate, to beat the Hamas, but also we have a lot of people with keep hostages in Gaza, which make everything more complicated in a way. But this is two goals that we have to achieve. And I can tell you, as a commander who took part in all the wars and special operations in Israel, that every commander all the time has two missions in a way. One is to fulfill the mission, the military or the other mission, and in the same time, take care of his soldiers. And it doesn't mean that there is a conflict. It means that there is two things that you have to bring together. And this is also true now. There are other, maybe other arenas. For example, the Hezbollah is right now open fire every day, etc., but doesn't launch its all arsenal of rockets. The reason to it is because Iran is actually the manager of all this stuff, but they do the war with proxies. They don't fight, they don't send Iranian soldiers to fight this war. They have the Hamas, the Hezbollah, and also the Houthis in Yemen. And right now, they watching what will happen to the Hamas. And I think that they don't want to risk all the proxies in the same time. And they also take into consideration that the United States of America, who doesn't want this war to become regional, are there. And if this war will become regional, I think that the United States will be a player also. I mean, we don't, as you know, all along the Israeli history, we never asked other people, including Americans, to fight for us. We like the help that we got. We appreciate it, but we do our war. So it might enlarge to other fronts, and we are ready to it. Right now, we prefer to fight, to focus on Gaza, But if needed, we can, and we have all the power to enlarge the war to Lebanon and Syria. And what will be after that? I prefer to leave it to other days, but we will have to control Gaza in a situation that the people will know there is no Hamas in Gaza and there is no Hamas on earth, not in Judea and Samaria. Maybe there will be refugees in other places. Do we want to rule Gaza from now on? There are different views about it in Israel, and I don't want to enter into it because it's not right now, this is not the issue. The issue now is how to beat the Hamas, and later on, as it's used in Israel, there will be election of the municipalities. There will be, I guess, somewhere in some time general elections, as usually in Israel. There will be an inquiry committee, and we will be in touch about it later. Right now, we have to deliver a victory. If this war will be enlarged, I just want to comment on that. The United States of America will have to take position here, and already took position, but not practically, because then there will be two big issues. The main one will be the position of Tehran, of Iran, because Iran is the head of the snake, and we will have at least, or a minimum, to prevent Iran from achieving nuclear capability. If Iran will achieve nuclear capability, all the problems in the Middle East will stay the same. Some of them will be more emphasized and more problematic. And on top of everything, there will be another mega problem, which is the Iranian nuclear, or as the Sunnis call it, a Shiite nuclear bomb. Imagine yourself that at that situation, Iran was nuclear. God forbid. And so this is the main issue. Another one that we have to say it right now, I don't want to deal with it, but no decent, a sober man in Israel will speak about Palestinian state. I know that this is the position of Washington. We have to talk about it, but I just want you to know that the distance between Tulkarem, which is the Green Line, and Netanya, which is the Israeli seashore, is half of the distance between Gaza and Ofakim, which was one of the towns that was attacked severely, and nobody will think about such a development anymore. This is more or less, I just want to emphasize very shortly that we'll have a lot of other issues that we have to take care. It's not only our national security grand strategy vis-a-vis Palestinian state, vis-a-vis intelligence, vis-a-vis defensible borders, what is the Israeli settlements in all Israel. I'm not talking only about Judah and Samaria and the Bekaa, Jordan, the valley of Jordan along the Jordan River. By the way, the average distance between the Jordan and the Mediterranean Sea, you know how much is it? 40 miles. This is small that we are, even if we talk, as my position, that Jordan should be our defensible borders in the east. And security, defense and security will return to be the big issue in Israel. The women in this war actually put a exclamation mark that women are fighters in Israel. We remember what the UN actually position was in this war. We remember that the Pope in Rome didn't say one strong word. And there will be a lot of influence on education and how the elections in Israel is going. We have a lot of work. I just want to end by say thank you and to just inform you, I'm for 20 years the voluntarily the chairman of Green Horizon, which is an organization, youth movement in Israel. We launch every year 3,500 trips in all parts of Israel. Right now, most of our staff is recruited, of course, is Lavi, as you know, and all the others. And actually, as usually, the women, most of the staff is run by women. And every group, every region take care of his own communities, work with children, with teenagers, do volunteering in everything needed in the community. And also we formed 3 special teams that went to Eilat in the southern part, and the Dead Sea and Ramat Negev, because there are a lot of Israeli refugees from the settlements near Gaza, and they are working there, of course, voluntarily with the teenagers and the children there. And I want to thank personally to everybody, to each of you. You know, when I was the national security advisor of 2 governments in Israel, I was often asked, what is the strategic asset of Israel? And everybody thought that I will say, I don't know, the F-35 or Merkava 7 or what we don't talk about. And I said, no, Israel got Jerusalem, we got the defensible borders, but above all, our strategic asset is the cohesion, the unity of the Israeli society and our relations with the Jewish communities. So everything that you do for it, and special thanks to Tali Tzur and Yoel for organizing this Zoom meeting, and to Russell and Mitch and Sharon, how are you there, Sharon, that we worked for many years together, and to each of you for what you contribute to Israel in every time or all the time, and especially at this situation in our road to be more Jewish, more democratic, and more secured Israel. Thank you very much.
So thank you so much, Major General. We have 2 more speakers waiting, so we'll arrange for you to come back on, and we could ask you some of the questions that have come in. So again, thank you.
I'm staying here.
Okay.
I will mute, but I continue to watch you and hear you. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. So next we'll turn to Richard Summers, the Resource Development Manager for the Ayalot Region Council. Richard, over to you.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Just before I start, I think Hanan Ginat wanted to just say a couple of words, the Mayor of the Ayalot Region. Hanan? Okay, maybe not. Okay, so I'm just gonna go straight into this. First of all, my name is Richard. I've been living in the Arava for almost 30 years. I grew up in England. I made Aliyah because I grew up I went to a university where the hard left was taking over during the first Lebanon war, and I realized really there was no future to be a strong secular Jew living in England if I wanted to be part of something bigger. And I moved to Israel and I made my home here in the Arava. First of all, where are we talking about when we talk about the Elot region? If you look on the map and you see the dark brown area, that's the Elot region with 13% of the state of Israel. We've got more than, so we sit on more than 600 acres of, 600,000 acres of Israeli land. Our main income is through agriculture and renewable energy. We have 10 kibbutzim in the region and 2 communities. The kibbutzim that we have are the same kibbutzim that you remember when you were kids and came to volunteer on kibbutz. Literally, we're still communities that live in a cooperative nature. We have 30,000 tourists that come a year that help us support our communities, of which 190,000 come to visit Timna, which the DNF in many ways have made this park a possibility and possibly one of the most popular national parks in Israel. So let's continue. Okay, so since the war has begun, the thing about the Elot region, as you may have noticed, is it's way down south. We're the most remote region in Israel, which means that we're one of the safest places where refugees can be absorbed. And the people who are living in the Gaza envelope realized this very, very quickly. And within 48 hours of the outbreak of the war, we already had 1,500 people who'd been absorbed into our community. Okay, within a week, that number rose to 2,600. And today we're already at 3,600 people, of which 1,200 were evacuated from the city of Sderot. In order to deal with this, we created a volunteer body of over 190 local volunteers. Okay, and within every community, we have an emergency relief committee. And those emergency relief committees literally deal with every single thing that these evacuees need. Now, it's really important to say at this point, and in many ways, I'm sorry to say it, but the reason we've had to do all of this is because the government over the first few weeks of this war just hasn't been able to operate within the civilian sphere, which means that effectively everything has fallen on the local communities throughout Israel that have absorbed evacuees to deal with it. So what have we actually been doing? Okay, so first of all, the most important thing is that after the first week, we realized there was no choice. These people aren't going anywhere soon, and we have literally thousands of kids to look after. And so within every community, we started doing on a daily basis informal educational activities. Okay, but after about a week, we realized that especially for parents with young kids, that this wasn't enough. And so we've set up, first of all, a elementary school on Kibbutz Yotvata, where there are over 360 people that have been absorbed there. Okay, and that provides kids from grades 1 to 6 a normal day at school. Okay, now admittedly not entirely normal because we opened up the school in the local bar. Okay. But what we've realized is that you can now use beer for the teachers, which helps them keep them calm. We also set up 3 new kindergartens, okay, which are providing over 100 preschool kids with daily kindergarten activity. And we have plans now to set up an additional school, which will be on the back of our own elementary school, which will take in another 200 kids. Okay, what we're really saying here is we understand that our doors are open, and that we're not giving any date that people have to leave by. It's really important because, in essence, this whole event has shaken the very basis of what we understand as security. It means that people are not only scared of the military thing, but they're also scared of their own stability. And therefore, one of the most important things that we wanted to do here was to create a feeling that there was stability for these people and that they didn't have to feel that in a few moments they were going to have to get up and move again. Once we set up the school stuff, we also realized that whatever happens, we were absorbing. Okay, I need to say this differently. In the region, we have 5,500 people living here. That represents just slightly under 1,400 households. Okay, in terms of the number of people that we've absorbed here, it means that every single household has taken in at least 2 people. Okay. That means that literally that these people who have come from a really traumatic experience are living in our front rooms. And it means that we need to be aware that it's not just taking care of them by providing psychological and and psychological care, but it's also taking care of ourselves. Our kids are having to deal with understanding what other kids have gone through. And these things are just terrible, all right? And that kids have no barriers in terms of explaining what they experience. And we have to make sure that our kids have an ability to be able to understand that. In order to do that, we basically set up emergency psychological care that works 24/7. We've taken 14 psychologists that work in our local psychology system and turn around and said, you're dedicated, each one of you, to work in a particular community. The reason we did it that way was to make sure that anybody who meets with a psychologist once will always meet with the same psychologist. It means that there can be a continuation of care, and also it means that these people don't feel like they're being passed on from hand to hand. The second thing that we were able to do was we received 5 psychiatrists who came from Be'er Yaakov, who are now working within our community, not only for the people who are living in the Eilat region, but also we're providing it for those people from the Eshkol region that are at the moment in hotels in Eilat. Okay, and then on addition to that, we also have social workers that travel from community to community to make sure that everybody is getting the rights that they deserve. One of the biggest issues at the moment is we want to find a way in which we can help these people who literally got nowhere to live to cut through bureaucracy. And therefore, we're using our social workers to make sure that every piece of paper they need to fill in is being filled in together with somebody who's not going to make any mistakes. Okay, it may sound like a no-brainer, but trust me, in these times, anything that can take away the stress is a gift to these people. Okay, in the end, we're living here, okay? It's over 23 days since this event started, okay? And when you're living in a community, there has to be more than just school, social workers, and going back to somewhere that isn't your home. And so over this period, we've had we've held concerts in Timna Park by some of the most popular artists in Israel. We have regular open yoga and meditation sessions in all of our communities that are run by our local teachers here. We encourage the families of the evacuees to come and sit in the grass together with us and spend the afternoon to play together, to talk together, and to be part of something bigger and not to be closed in units. We have our own regional logistics center, which means that anybody who needs a board game, anybody who needs diapers, anybody who needs clothes, anybody who wants a new pillow can just come and take whatever they need. The idea is that every time we run out of stuff, we go out and try and raise more and more. And we literally now have thousands of volunteers in each of our communities cooking. Okay, that may sound funny, but in a community like Be'er Orma, where we have 300 families who are taking care of 300 evacuees, and there's no communal kitchen, then basically people are just cooking in their homes and then bringing those pots and pans to a makeshift dining room that we've had, and we sit together as a community to eat together. It's remarkable what is happening here. In many ways, what we're looking at is an event that's being managed only by local government and civil society, and yet every need of these people is being provided for. Okay, where does JNF come in? And to be honest with you, there was, on the first week of this thing, we weren't sleeping at night. We weren't sleeping at night because we didn't know how we would deal with this. When you have almost the size of your own community coming as evacuees, and you realize you have to provide them with beds, you have to provide them with food, you have to provide babies with formula, you have to provide them with diapers. It's scary. And JNF was there, okay? JNF, the moment that we picked up the phone, the question was, what do you want, but how can we help? Within the first 48 hours, we'd already run out of basic medical equipment. That means anything from plasters to Acamol. I literally made one call. It wasn't a question of how much it's going to cost. It was how many kits do you need? Okay, and within 24 hours, we already had medical kits on every single community, and it was all because of your team on the ground. Within the second week, we realized that we were about to go broke. Okay, I can't put it any other way. We were literally putting out 700,000 shekels a week to pay for meals. And we reached out again to the JNF, and the JNF, without even blinking, turned around and said, on us. And they paid out immediately $100,000, which was half the cost of the food that we'd already put out, which meant that we were able to continue. Okay, the issue is not that we'll be able to plan for the future, but rather what's happening next week. And you're there. We have people literally every day talking. When we managed to solve the food problem in the communities, we reached out again because we realized that we were having Timna Park open for the public to provide them with a quiet and safe place to be. All right. And we were providing families that had come from communities that were under fire day and night with a bed for free. And we were still paying 50 people to work there and have no income. And we made a decision together with the JNF that Timna Park, if you like, is a sign of strength in the South. That if we close Timna Park, that in essence, we're letting down the fight to make sure that we remain a free country. And therefore, we turned to you guys and said, let us keep the park open, help us pay to provide 300 beds every night for free for anybody who needs a safe place to stay, that they'll receive 3 meals a day, and that they'll also be able to have activities and social workers who are working with them day and night. And thanks to the JNF, literally for the next 2 weeks, we know that we'll be able to continue doing this. And hopefully by that time, the government will start going into action, and we'll be able to receive funding directly from central government. Again, I really want to say thank you, okay? Without your support, not only your financial support, but also the amount of WhatsApp messages that I receive from friends of mine from JNF is unbelievable. When I get to the end of the day and I feel like all I want to do is just sink into my bed and cry, I receive a message from somebody from the United States asking how I am, worrying about me, worrying about my friends and worrying about my family. And the truth is that everything we're doing here in Hevel Eilot is nothing special. Every place in Israel at the moment is acting this way. And we're being able to do this because of JNF USA. And all I have to do is to say thank you. If you guys have any questions, please feel free.
Richard, thank you. Hanan. Yes, this is Hanan. I am the mayor of the region. Following on what Richard said, just want to thank you, big thank you for your support, and especially for the JNF team who are with us from the first day and every step. As Richard presented, it became a very big challenge, but I think we are standing in this challenge good and positive, following the big support that we are getting. And as Uzi Dayan said, we are in our way to win, and we are all together. We are the most sparse area in Israel, but as always, and especially now, we feel as part of Israel having the privilege to host more than 3,500 people. And again, it's all with your support and with all the components that Richard presented us.
So, Richard and Hanan, thank you so much for coming on today. I know how busy you are. We all know how busy you are. And what you've done is remarkable. To build that infrastructure within hours is remarkable. Please remain in close contact with us because we're here to help. And we'll ask you to come back on again for some updates. So thanks again. Now we're going to move on to Michal Uziyahu, the JNF USA Israel Director of Development. Michal, it's so good to see you. You've joined us these briefings from the very first day and helped us to remain connected to Israel during this most difficult time. So thank you for your strength and resilience, and we're here to listen. Michal.
Thank you. Thank you all, and thank you for everyone that joined the Zoom call. I have so many thank you to say to so many people. You know, you always supported us, and you know what a proud, strong community I represent. It's not easy to need so much help, but at least to know that when we need so much help, we have so many friends to be there for us, it means a lot. So I want to share with you some thoughts. As you all know, nothing could prepare us to October 7th. In our worst nightmare, we didn't imagine such a situation that for hours, we are sitting in the shelters, hearing our community members being slaughtered. For hours, feeling so helpless. We cannot change October 7th. I wish we could just create a magic with the JNF and go back to October 6th, but we can't change it. We need to look after we mourn, and we are still mourning, and we need to look ahead and to see how we can grow from it. Just to understand the numbers, Eshkol Regional Council, a beautiful community of 17,000 residents. We buried 179 of our community members, including babies, mothers, fathers, children, grandparents, sometimes entire families. And yet, as I said, and you heard me before saying it, we are heartbroken, but we are strong, and we look forward. And from this darkness, there is nothing else to do but to look for the light and to move on. I want to share with you, and if you will allow me every time, I want to share with you a personal story of people that I love. One of them is Amit Gabay. This last Saturday, he was supposed to celebrate his 18th birthday. A very good friend of my daughter Shira. Amit had his own room, and while his family were in their own shelter, he was texting with them. His father is in the first response team, and he was fighting and trying to reach to Amit's room. He was texting with his mom, but around 2 p.m., communication was lost. It took us more than 24 hours to reach to his room. Eventually, we saw that he was murdered in his bed. Amit was a beautiful soul. He loved music. He was a free spirit, always walked barefoot. And we will remember him just like this. For 3 weeks, our communities, as I heard Mayor Davidi saying it about Sderot, he said, I'm a mayor with no citizens, no residents. So Eshkol today, the beautiful regional council of Eshkol, 32 communities, has almost no one in our communities, but we are still a community. In the last 3 weeks, we are refugees, mostly in Eilat, in the Dead Sea, in Eilot, in the Arava, in Ramat Negev, and in the area of Jerusalem. We visited hundreds of funerals in the last 3 weeks. Our children walk almost every day to a different funeral, hugging each other, supporting each other. And as I said before, this is our light, the next generation, to see how they support each other and being there for each other and looking up and saying, we are going back home. Eventually, we will go back home to Eshkol to rehabilitate our communities. And in this darkness, as I said, and we are entering the darkest time of the year almost, and then Hanukkah comes with the light, because the only way to defeat darkness is with light and another light. And in these 3 weeks, as you heard before from Richard, the communities, the Arava, Ramat Negev, and Eilot hugged us immediately to see the Jewish National Fund staff being with us from the first moment, taking care of us. You know, Tali, Meirav Atias, and myself were preparing for emergency drill for JNF. We didn't imagine that we will have to operate it in such a scale, and thank goodness that we were at least aiming there. But with the wonderful spirit of all the affiliates, we are lighting another light and another light. We will go back to our home. We will do everything that we can possibly do to bring our children back from Gaza. The mothers, the fathers, the elderly people from Gaza, we will bring them back home. And we will rehabilitate our communities again. We will rebuild the buildings. We will rehabilitate the communities and we'll bring them together. We will create an exemplary educational system. We will go back to the Groove Tech. We will revive it again. We will hear music in the hallways of our conservatory. We will create strong economic infrastructures. And as I said before, I know that we will grow again and you will come back to Eshkol and you will see that we are stronger and bigger. How can I know that it will happen? I know that it will happen because I know that we are biyachad, that we are not alone, and that you are with us every step of the way. In the short term, you helped us. We spoke earlier about unfortunately, the government that is still trying to be there, but still is not up to with the pace and with the needs. Jewish National Fund, you guys gave us a supporting blanket to know, just go ahead, evacuate your people to the hotels. Doesn't matter if it's approved or not approved. Even before you raised $1, you were there with us. Why? As I always say, because you are not with us just now. You were with us the day before. And as we speak right now, you're already helping us to write our rehabilitation plans for the future, for the day after. Just to see how Green Horizons hugged us immediately. And I'm not talking only about hiking in the nature. Green Horizons were there giving us stuff, people. You know, many of my colleagues are mourning. They lost children, they lost parents. They lost them because they were murdered or because they are in Gaza right now. We needed good people. And I knew that if I will turn to Green Horizons and the other affiliates, we will have them. Richard said about the social workers and the staff of Eilot, the staff of Ramat Negev, the staff of the Arava Valley. They are part of our team today. Even the former head of education in the Arava today is really step-by-step walking with the head of the education system in Eshkol. Lotem immediately are helping us to create an answer for families with special needs. Noah Zer, Noah Geffen, texting us all the time. Alon Wald immediately invited us to the Ammunition Hill, you know, to see how Jewish National Fund, the entire family, was there for us from the first moment. Some of them said, we know that you don't need us right now, but we are there for you. Exactly what we needed. And unfortunately, we need a lot. Right now, we are working on bringing and building resilient centers in 3 major locations, in Eilat, in the Dead Sea, and in Jerusalem area, with 2 small locations in the Arava and in Ramat Negev. We're trying to start again the school system, and as Richard said, the efforts that they are making in the Eilot area, how to help us to create schools. But if we want to operate the entire system, we need an answer first for the children, so the parents can have time also to get emotional support, but also to start creating a routine in this madness. If we want our area to go back to the way it was before, we should not become a welfare communities. Right now in the hotels, getting breakfast, lunch, and dinner, getting a huge hug and support, it's a wonderful thing, it's important, but we have to remind ourselves that we are capable people. It's very easy to lose the sense of capability. And we have to ensure that people go back to work, even if it's for a few hours a day. We should not lose our capability. We should continue to strengthen the local leaderships, even if we are not in our own communities. We have to continue to create communities wherever we are. We need to help small businesses and the farmers. We mentioned the farmers earlier. You were talking about the Shomer HaChadash and their support to the farmers. And you are helping us to think, how can we do it now? And how can we do it for the midterm and for the long run? It will take us time. We don't understand all the meaning of the rehabilitation. But as I said before, we know that we will make it happen. I want to end my comments with thanking each and every one of you for caring, for supporting, for all the text messages. And I want to ask for your forgiveness if I didn't manage to answer everyone. We are in the toughest time that we ever experienced in our life. This is the toughest time since the creation of the nation of Israel. But it is what it is. We cannot go back. We cannot change October 7. And we need to remind ourselves that we build an amazing nation together, biyachad, after the Holocaust. And we will overcome this darkest time. Biyachad, we will light a candle and another candle, and we will make it into a torch, and we will create a huge light. Thank you. Toda rabba.
So Michal, there's thousands of hugs coming your way from the US, and we will be back in your region with you. We'll be back there in person with you. We'll rebuild with you. We'll help you light the candles. So we'll keep calling on you to give us your spirit. It helps us when we see you. So thank you, Michal. Thank you to all of our speakers. Tomorrow, Tuesday, October 31st, we'll be joined by our dear friend, General Doron Almog, chairman of the executive of the Jewish Agency for Israel, and Eli Klein, director of development at Adi Negev. As you know, the needs in Israel keep growing every day, and JNF USA announced a $1 million matching gift to the Israel Resilience Campaign by 3 generous partners from Denver, Colorado. They're Bob Lemke, Toby Mower, and the Shana Glassman Foundation. We urge you to make your gift at jnf.org/support Israel. Every dollar goes directly to our family on the ground and to the areas that are in greatest need, and will be matched through November 2nd. With that, we'll sign off. We'll see you tomorrow for our daily 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Thank you for joining us. I'm Israel Chai.